My family and I, we came to Australia as refugees in '99 from Bosnia. From a different place and being shoved into a new place, it kind of started this transformation journey for me of who the hell am I amongst all of these things happening.
Jasmina is into integration, alchemy. She's going to tell us all about that. Human design, gene keys, like galore.
I'm one of those old souls, like really different throughout my whole life. The main point was when I became a mum. That was when things really just kind of made sense. I need to start looking at these things. Why do I do the things that I do, and how can I take more accountability and that.
Everything that Cosmic Money is about for us, like even though it's, it's business and it's strategy and, it's still energetics, it's still soul, it's still alignment. And so I love that you kind of have that. Hello, gorgeous beings. Welcome to today and another most amazing podcast of Cosmic Money. I'm your host, Sky Hanley, and I'm here today with Jasmina. I'm going to say your last name wrong. Sehic?
Very good.
Close.
Damn
it. Our Australian mouths just don't do like amazing foreign accents and anyway, rolling R's and whatever else. Jasmina is into integration, alchemy. She's going to tell us all about that. Human design, gene keys, like galore. I'm so excited for this conversation. I was saying to Jasmina before, I'm a bit of a novice with some of these things. Like I get it and I don't kind of get it, or I haven't deep dived. So I'm really excited to chat about all of this today and obviously chat to you. Hi.
Hey, hello. I'm so excited. What a lovely intro. Very, very glad to be here. And yeah, can't wait to see where the combo takes us.
Of course. Look, we're all about healthy ego around here. So you're totally allowed to lean into all of your amazing brilliance and everything that you are and everything that you do and the experts in all of this. So, I mean, look, let's go broadly for a second, who the hell are you? Why the hell are you here? What on earth is going on? What got you to the points that you're at? Give us a bit of a rundown of some of your story.
Absolutely. So I feel like I ended up here because I'm one of those old souls. Like I feel like I've always felt like really different throughout my whole life. And I've always been into healing work. Like my family and I, we came to Australia as refugees in '99 from Bosnia. So I think being from a different place and being shoved into a new place, it kind of started this transformation journey for me of who the hell am I amongst all of these things happening. And obviously have a bit of, adversity and that in my life. And I think the main point was when I became a mum. That was when things really just kind of made sense. And there's nothing quite like becoming a mum and being responsible for this life outside of you. And it's like a catalyst to this inner transformation and you can't stop it. It just takes over. So having that mirror held back to me and seeing all of these things sort of coming out, it was like, wow, I need to start looking at these things. Why do I do the things that I do, and how can I take more accountability and that. So I ended up on, the deep transformative path, as many of us do.
Yeah.
And I dabbled in a lot of different things, and it wasn't until I found human design that I feel like things just made sense. And yeah, recently I quit my job. I completely went, no, I don't want to do that corporate life anymore. And I'm diving headfirst into, integration alchemy and hopefully being able to help others on their self-discovery journey and holding their hand through some of these, dark times that can be ahead of that. So yeah, hence why here I am wanting to share it with as many people as possible.
I have a million questions.
Yeah.
What I love, like, about the fact that you are here is that, like, everything that cosmic money is about for us, like, even though it's, it's business and it's strategy and, it's still energetics, it's still soul, it's still alignment. And, I'm very big on, I guess, like, marrying, that's the word I'm after, the 3D and the 5D and the behavioral, because we are a human living a very human experience and all of the mess and patterns and whatever that shows up in that, but also with kind of this universal, greater, meaning kind of path that goes along with it. So I love that you kind of have um, that contained within you as well. Talk to us then. This is the big question. Talk to us about human design. So, this is all I know. All right. Let me tell you, it'll take about 1 second. I know I'm a manifesting generator, which probably comes as no surprise. But that's kind of all I know. I know that, there's projectors and there's generators and there's manifestors and there's different characteristics and there's this and that. Like, what is the broad stroke of, what it is and its greater meaning within our lives?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that what you've said is usually what a lot of people know first about human design, that type that sort of draws them in, and we start relating to it. Like human design, I like to think about, like how astrology, we have the 12 different signs. Human design is a map of us in a way as well. But what it shows us is how we can learn to align our values to the decisions that we make in life. Because what we want to do is not only live life as ourselves, but for ourselves. And a lot of the time, as we are conditioned through our childhood, through society, because again, we are one person, but we are connected to the whole. We never do anything as individuals. And so what human design shows us is that there is this conditioning force happening around us. And what eventually happens is if we don't have that conscious awareness is we begin to identify with this external force and it almost consumes us, and we then become disillusioned to who it is that we are and who it is that people think we are. And life becomes this dance of we start acting and making decisions because we think that's what's right. That's what people should be doing. Like if I'm successful, like we watch a successful person and we mirror their steps. And that's what human design helps us. It helps us separate the two. It helps us understand who we are and who we can continue to be amongst other people. So then when we start living our life, we can actually do it as an individual amongst a sea of other people. And so it really does help get you in alignment, and it creates flow in your life because, when you make a decision as somebody else, it's very rare that you sit there and you have a great time. It always kind of disconnects you and you feel weird inside of your body. Like even though on the outside you appear to be doing the right thing. And so that's what human design is. It gives you that blueprint of learning who it is that your part of you is and how you can contain that despite these other influences from society or, your partner and that. So,
A
yeah.
mutual friend of ours, Olivia Ward, who's been on our podcast before, she was last time I saw her, she was talking to me about all of this, and she was telling me and speaking into kind of a dance, like the dance that you're speaking of, that that different human design. I don't even know what to call them,
The types.
yeah, the
Yeah.
type,
Yeah.
exactly. That the different, like that dance that the different types are kind of doing with one another, and that accidental perhaps mirroring, and
Yes.
making those decisions based in potentially another type, from that being potentially what's around us. Did that make any sense? This is partly my understanding later on.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, because we absorb other people's energies. And so we what we do find is that we have like four types, which again, is a very, generic term. Like we're talking umbrella terms, and like when we think about human design, like we can really narrow down into extreme specifics about your gifts, your limitations. We look at things like what your potential shadow frequencies are and what you are as an evolved person as well. So understanding what type you are can almost be like the first step to breaking free of those expectations that sometimes we set on ourselves and sometimes other people set on us. So yeah, we do have, we've got projectors.
My next
Um,
question. Yeah, tell us about the type.
yeah. So
Yeah.
projectors are about 21% of the world. So I'm a projector. We have lots of subtypes of projectors as well. Then we have manifestors, which our mutual friend Liv is, and that's about 8 or 9%. So quite rare. And then we've got manifesting generators, which are about 33% of the world. So quite a big portion. We've got generators, which make up another 34%. And then we've got reflectors, which is about 1 to 2% of the world. So really you can see that about 70% of the world are what we call our generator types, our big energy bodies. And you can see once you start understanding the differences between them, when you are watching the difference between them, how sometimes we can think we're this, but we're not, but we get really good at pretending to be. So, if you'd like, I can explain to you a bit of the differences between
Please,
the
yeah, yeah.
different
Because I'm
types.
thinking, like sitting here listening, I feel like there are particular characteristics and different things that people would be able to relate into. Like if I heard all of the different types, my first assumption would be that I'm a manifesting generator anyway, just from that and not the pretend version of maybe who I'm being or something like that, but my actual being, I would have been like, that sounds like the thing that I am. And so for those who haven't done their human design, like, yeah, being able to relate into some of the potentials of what they might be could be really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think as projectors, one of the things that we look at are that normally we can be guides, seers, oracles, teachers. Um, those are the kinds of roles that projectors tend to sort of take in because projectors tend to see things that others don't. And so obviously we are called a projector because what we're projecting outwards is what we see when we look at you. And so it can help highlight these blind spots to people that they otherwise can't see because we are labeled as the only type that can see someone else. So the other types don't have the ability to penetrate as deeply as a projector can energetically. So that's something there. When projectors are out of alignment, they feel bitter. And for me, when I heard that, that was like, oh my God. It just like, I was like, I
Yeah.
feel so seen. Cause like, there's this feeling that when you act out of authenticity or out of alignment and say yes to things you actually don't want to, you feel bitter, like resentful. And that's a really big goalpost for projectors to know that they're off track. And so that can be something that also helps people align with the type because of that feeling. And they're really here to experience success by understanding who they are and helping other people meet themselves in that authentic way. So that's kind of what we see with projectors in a quick snapshot.
Yeah.
Um,
I wonder if my partner is a projector, like, because I know that he is very like different and sort of opposite in many ways to what I am. And that, yeah. And so many of those things that you just spoke to, like I can see within him, and I've known that he is probably something like I wouldn't have put him as a generator, a manifestor, and a manigen, like a manigen. I don't know enough about reflectors, but I was like, he's none of those ones. So
Yes.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
interesting.
it can be like, I mean, projectors when, as like in the early phases of evolution, before they start, understanding themselves, they're great at giving unsolicited advice. So that was a really big wake up call for me because when I started, I was like, oh my God, I do that all the time. I'm like literally a verbal gunslinger because I used to just give my 2 cents to people because I could see it. And I'm like, why can't you just see? And so sometimes that can be quite a common experience that projectors share in the world. Yeah. Um, Whereas, like, when we get into your type, Sky, like manifesting generators, they're what we call our express builders and our multi passionate creative houses. Like, literally, I've never seen more energy in my life than I see in a manifesting generator. Like, I literally sit there and I'm just like, I am in absolute awe at the insane amount of creative energy that there is there and the ability to do so much. Um, Projectors want to be known for what they see rather than what they do. Whereas when we come to our energy types like yourself, it really starts to become about what we start creating and doing. And you have lots of things on at once. Like you're not like I'm just going to have this one thing and we're just going to take our time. Like we're talking like several things happening. And we call you express builders because you are masters at getting things done in the quickest way possible. So you'll see things and you're like, it's 7 steps, but you're like, that's bullshit. We don't need 7 steps because I can get that shit done in 3. And that's what I'm going to do. And so that's where we see that. That's why we call you guys a manifesting generator and an express builder.
Yeah.
So yeah.
What's our shadow? Because obviously there would be a few that come with that, I imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, so because you are technically like a bit of a manifester, a bit of a generator, you can have your not self themes of both of those types. So both anger and frustration. So if you're feeling pissed off in whatever way, whether it's starting as frustration and building up to full on anger, it's a very big sign that you are doing things that don't bring you the satisfaction or the peace that you're really searching for in this life, and that the work that you're doing is being fueled more by your shadow frequencies rather than those higher elevated frequencies. So it's a good goalpost to be like, oh, where am I actually wasting my energy or giving it away? And where are those leaks happening? When you experience those feelings. And yeah, like I said, if you're experiencing peace and you're living your best life and you're feeling joy, that's a good sign that you are living life in alignment as a Manigen.
Amazing. And so then what is that? And that's definitely me again, feeling personally attacked. So, um, so then what would be the difference with the manifestors and then the generators or those portions? Yeah.
Yeah, so when we move into a generator, we're looking at somebody who has obviously not self theme of frustration, and then we're moving into the signature theme of satisfaction. So they actually do things in a step by step process. So unlike a manifesting generator who's looking to skip steps and get things done as quick as possible, a generator is a lot slower, and they actually go, okay, I'm going to go from 1 and to 2 and to 3, and I'm going to really take my time with this process. And that's why we call generators masters in terms of their creative work, because of how slow that process can be and how deep they go into it. So there's the difference between a generator and a manifesting generator. It's the speed of how you guys work. You both end up in the same place. You just go about it in a very different way. So yeah, you both have the same motor, and, you're both, energy beings, and, you're out there wanting to build things, but it's just the speed of it. And yeah, generators do tend to focus on one project at a time, because of the process that they like to really delve deep into. So does that kind of
Totally. Yeah.
make
Yeah.
sense
It's really
between the two?
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we'll move into the manifestors, which I think like Liv. And the reason that Manny Gens get the speed is like, because that's what you get that from the manifestor side in you. Because when I watch manifestors, we call them our initiators, our pioneers, our spark bombs. They just like, honestly, speed of goddamn light. Like when they get an idea, it's like, see you later. I'm off. You can't stop it. And that's what gives our Manny Gens the speed, that they have there. And so they're really here to start processes, to start ideas. They're not here to do it from start to finish like our generators. They're here to just get the ball rolling. And then we have generators that come in and finish those things for manifestors. But I definitely think of them as, yeah, innovative beyond things. I always am quite blown away by the manifestors in my life because I'm like, how did you come up with that so fast? Like, I'm still sitting here trying to process what just happened, and you're already like 10 years ahead of me. So, yeah, and they have the not self theme of anger. So it can be, you can definitely feel it. When you get in the way of a manifestor, you will know, and they will let you know, either by their face or by the energy that they exude. It will literally, like, I call it fuck off energy because it's literally just like, get out of my way. Like, I've got shit to do. But they are really here to experience, peace. And so part of that journey is to really learn how to interact with the other energy types, because we are the people who interrupt manifestors, all the other energy types. So learning how to remove the resistance, is part of the journey towards their peace. So that can be quite a bit of a journey for them as well.
And I think that was
Um,
part of what like Liv found for herself also, like that having this information kind of unlocked a bunch of even creation in herself because she gave herself permission to be the creator, be the ideas, be the innovator without it necessarily like having to be the finisher, as you said, where
yes.
it's like we can get all this stuff started and all the rest of it without her having to lock herself down into the long haul journey of it as well.
Exactly, because it's like your genius is in this area. So, like, why spend your life trying to be this thing that you're not and being pissed off and angry when you spark things over here, you're like lit up and you've got this beautiful peace and flow in your life. So it's like, yeah, like you said, giving yourself permission to really give your energy to the things that mean the most to you. And it can just be starting things rather than worrying about finishing them. Um, yeah. And then the last one that we have is the reflector, which is, I think, from my experience, probably the most fascinating type because we don't have a lot of them, 1% in the world. And they are very different to the other types. So the rest of us are what we call solar types. So we're programmed by the sun, whereas reflectors are actually programmed by the moon. And they have a very special relationship with the moon. And we call them our judges, our evaluators, our mediators, because as you can imagine, being a reflector, they actually reflect back to us the energy that they feel of ours. And so they're really here to work on a collective scale. Projectors do very well one-on-one and in small groups, whereas reflectors are here to help the collective evolve. And so that's why you find them being an objective judge, because they can really absorb everybody's energies and learn like from both sides of the coin. And so when they give us advice, it comes from this beautiful objective wisdom that they've gained through absorbing and sampling all the different things that humans are. And it's the full spectrum. It can be, for them, not self theme is disappointment, and that can be what they experience because they're disappointed in what humanity is. Because sometimes there are really disappointing aspects of being human, that our shadow frequencies are shit. And then their true theme that they're here to experience is surprise, because as much as humans can be disappointing, we can also really surprise one another by the, absolute beauty that we can create within us through transformation and evolution. So yeah, on a basic snapshot, that's kind of the differences in them.
You can really see how different like different, like, let's say, jobs, or like career paths, or just paths in life and stuff like that, like
Yeah.
really lend to particular particular types within the human design, like, for sure.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So then, talk to me now about gene keys, because this is a bit
Yes.
that I don't fully understand. Or yeah, like, it's kind of a it's a another advanced kind of step forward from, like, human design. Like, it's more depth and niche to it. Is that how it works?
Yeah, so I mean, it's not more advanced. So human design was received by a man called Ra Uruhu in 1987 by this really mystical force that he termed the voice, and he wrote this system based on the transmissions that he received on this 7-day trip thing that he had. And Richard Rudd, which is the man who's designed the system Gene Keys, he had his own experience. So his it lasted, he had more than one, but he had a 3-day and a 4-day experience, and so he created the Gene Keys process there, and it is, to me, it's more an enlightened and empowering process of what human design sometimes lacks. There is a part of me. I have a anarchy line in me, so I'm very good at burning down anything. Because if you give me a system, I will find holes in it. That's my expertise, and that's something that you can find in your own human design. But what I loved about the Gene Keys, and if you ever read the book that Richard Rudd wrote, it's like poetry, and it unlocks what he believes is that you can unlock anything within your genes. Like, all it takes is that belief and that work towards creating that process and transmuting your shadow, because obviously we don't have shadows without our gifts. One cannot exist without the other. And so that's where I started integrating the Gene Keys into my alchemy work, because I loved the language that it gave and how enlightened and empowered it left me. And I thought, there's no way that I can just talk about human design. I have to weave them both in order to, just like add deeper layers into it. So yeah, I wouldn't say it's an advanced process. It's a different process, but it gives layers to what human design started. So it's just up to the individual and what they feel more called towards. But yeah.
So then, in the last few years, I feel like human design, Gene Keys, like, this kind of stuff has really taken off. There's not a single day, on social media I don't see something or someone, or whatever, talking about this kind of stuff, and or integrating it into their life and their business, and their decision making and things. So why is that? Why did it sort of take this? Take this kind of flight in the last few years, and in popularity?
I've spent my life obsessed with the strategy and energetics of 7-figure business. I've literally traveled the world trying to crack the code. And what I've found is that when you couple the pursuit of making massive amounts of money with the strategy and science of success, plus having a desire for significant impact and contribution, magic happens. That's why I created a free 21-day next level vortex money mission magic. Hell yes to that. This 21-day quantum business challenge is here to shift you into new timelines and realities. 21 days to quantum shift your impact, business, and your bank account. These carefully crafted and channeled tools are the exact things I've used to create a life beyond my wildest dreams, and I'm not done yet. If you're ready for incredible transformation now in all areas of your life, more money and financial freedom, freedom of time, freedom of lifestyle, freedom of choice, better, more connected relationships, greater levels of health, and simply calling in more magic into every single day, then these 21 days are going to blow your mind. 21 days of powerful universal, behavioral, and strategic tools to quantum shift your internal state so that you start to see massive changes in your external reality, bringing the metaphysical into the physical. Join the challenge now and get ready for the most powerful 21-day expansion to quantum shift your impact, business, bank account, and your life.
Cosmic Money, the podcast, the strategy and energetics of seven-figure business.
Well, I think we've definitely seen a rise in people's awakening. We're talking about individual awakening of our consciousness, but then we're talking about a collective awakening in our consciousness. And so there is a process in human design and in the gene keys, which talks about, 400-year cycles of humanity. And so we are getting towards the end of our current 400-year cycle, which ends actually in 2027, and we commence our new one. And so what we actually sometimes, because we are so busy living our lives, naturally, we forget that behind that is all this stuff happening. And behind that, what we're seeing is that awakening of the consciousness. And once people start opening their eyes and seeing and going, oh, that's why I'm doing this and that's why I'm doing that, and seeing things differently, you can't unsee them. And so it's kind of like a domino effect. And that's really what's been happening with human design and gene keys, and astrology is still really, really big. Astrology is never going to die. It's a beautiful system. I love astrology. And so I think once one person opens their eyes, what do? We get on a podcast, we talk about it, we share it, and then another person opens their eyes, and it's this beautiful collective awakening that we're experiencing, because I think we are finally getting to that point where we're like, we don't have to live life the way that we did. We have autonomy, and we're taking back our power, our individual power, to be like, I am the expert in my life. There are these people who are experts in their field, but they are not an expert in me, and they're not an expert in my life. And when you meet human design and when you meet the gene keys, and it gives you this empowered self, you just want to climb on top of a mountain and scream. And that's what I did when I met human design. I was like, everybody's got to know.
I think you were saying it before. It just made so much sense of so many things, like, within your life and stuff like that. So that in its own right, could only be empowering, I feel, where you're just like, oh my God, now it all makes sense kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, yeah, you can give yourself compassion and forgiveness, because we beat the shit up out of ourselves with shame and guilt. And obviously that limits our ability to evolve and, be these people that we want to be. And I think it really is giving us that ability to be like, not only am I human, I was actually designed to be imperfect. And when you see it on a map and you're like, wow, it just makes sense, like, that I do these things because of this, but it also gives you the key to actually transmuting that and making it something quite beautiful. So yeah, it's this poetry that I just can't help but love.
I love when you look at things, if this makes any sense. I love when you look at things that are not kind of thing. Like, it's not just being able to relate into something, because I find that, we're human, we've got confirmation biases, we've got beliefs and all these things. And so we could look at something and go, oh yeah, that sounds like me, or oh yeah, that's a desirable trait, yes, I have that, or whatever. But when you can actually look at a map of something that you're not as well, and you're just like, oh gosh, I think I'm so this thing, and it makes so much sense. And to compare that to something where you're just going, none of that makes sense to me. I really love that kind of duality.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think on when I look at human design charts, like we can track like your potential purpose that you're here to fulfill, right? We can really weave this beautiful story of like when I look at your chart, like I know what your journey is. And a lot of the time we've got this plan in there, but we are the ones that interfere with it because we're like, oh, well, that's not what everybody else is doing. I think I should be. And so that's the other thing that I think is really beautiful, that when you look at this map, not only does it give you that part where it's like, oh shit, okay, maybe, goddamn, I probably do these things, but it also gives you this potential map of this beautiful role and journey that you are here to have. And that was what freed me out of the 3D world, because I was doing this 9 to 5 corporate job and I was sitting there wondering, is this really what life is about? Like, seriously, I'll just do this shit until I'm 65 and then I retire? Like, goddamn, that sucks. And I was like, no, I actually don't want to do that. And yeah, so it does give you lots and lots of bits of the puzzle, I think.
Speak to us about like the origins of that, because it blows my mind. And again, I have sprinklings of pieces of information like it that whether it's human design or gene keys is a mix of a variety of other known, practices, modalities, whatever it might be, whatever word we want to use, that have been able to be brought together in this amazing way and obviously channeled and dumped here in this conscious time and whatever. What is the origin of that? Like, obviously, if it can give us this beautiful map of our purpose and our mission and our future and our being and the experiment that we are as a being, individually, like, what is that origin piece that's kind of come from?
Yeah, I guess like human design technically is a synthesis of several systems and like modern day sciences. And that's why it takes 7 years of study to become a professional accredited human design analyst. Because we're not talking about a simple system. We're talking about several complex systems woven into one. So when you look at this map, you're not just looking at this 2D page, you're looking at like these layers that people don't see. And it's, there's the Hindu Brahmin chakra system, astrology, the Judaic tree of life. We've got biochemistry, quantum physics, astronomy, biology. So it's actually seeing all of that data and bringing it together. And that's what human design did when Ra received it in 1987. It just literally came together for him. And obviously Richard had his own experience of what that was, and he's written it there. So it's really, because everything that we see is a pattern, right? So we're all playing out some sort of pattern in, our 3D world. And that's what it gives us, the ability to look at the patterns and put the information together and give us that data, so to speak. Like kind of like I think about it as like AI, how we put into AI, you are this, and then it shoots out information for us. It's the same about us as human beings. Like if we give ourselves data and we run our program, that's what human design does. It gives you your unique program of what it is to be a soul, because human design is based on the fact that you are a soul having a human experience. So you're not just a human, you've been pulled into a human body. So we're talking about two very separate, intricate systems of consciousness. So it's very mystical. They're very mystical. Yeah.
And I love at the same time, I play both sides of things as well with with the mystical and the magical and the universe, as well as I love quantum physics and I love the science of those things that I either believe to be true already anyway, and that there is science that backs this, like, again, probably confirmation bias, like, or whatever. But it is so amazing, literally in its literal form, amazing that these things have all come together in this way. Yeah. What did then you find in your journey now? What was the most fascinating or like surprising piece that you learned, or biggest aha?
Yeah. For me, I think one of the things that had the biggest impact, other than me being a projector, was my profile type. I think that's something that people really don't think about as much, especially when we start getting into human design. We relate so much to projector, XYZ, but the profile is like, gives me a costume of what kind of projector I am, because if there's 22% of us in the world, we're talking about several billion, right? So what's going to make me stand out a bit more amongst us, even a sea of projectors? And when I learnt about that, I was like, holy shit. It just, like, my life made even more sense. It was like another layer of, like, wow. So those are the numbers that you see in front of your type. So you might look up your human design, and you'll obviously need your time, your place of birth, and your date of birth, and it obviously needs to be accurate. And so you'll get a number, and for me, it's 1/3 projector. That was helpful. And the strategy and authority part for each type, that also really helped me, I guess, take back a bit more power and commence that deeper process of awakening. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like, it's those layers on layers. So I don't know my layers on layers. I like totally need to delve
Lucky
in
you
again.
know a human design person,
Oh, I
Sky.
know, like, fancy that. And then I know for my partner, because I'm like, because you want to diagnose everyone in your life at that point, kind of thing. Once you start knowing bits and pieces, we don't know what time he was born. And so that's been the bit that's been like holding it back for me finding out on his behalf, as well as because we just don't know what that time is, because it's those pieces of information, the pieces to the puzzle, to then be able to bring the rest of the information forward in an accurate fashion.
Yeah, and many people have that issue. Like, we do recommend seeing a particular type of astrologer that can actually go back and look at your time of birth. So they do exist. Obviously, if you've tried all the traditional processes of, like, the hospitals and etc., those are the places that we recommend for people to go, because they can actually, through your chart, pinpoint quite a accurate window of your time of birth. So if anyone that is listening is experiencing the same issue, I would recommend seeing an astrologer that can do your time of birth, and that they do exist. There is, I think, Luke Bulkey does them, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, that's a place to start.
Yeah, and it brings up a really great point, because I just forgot this until you spoke a moment ago. We actually have the same birthday, so my partner and I actually have the same birthday as well. Like, I made him show me his license on our first date, because I was like, bullshit, you're just saying the
Tell
thing
me
I
now.
said to you. Yeah, show me, prove it. But so even with something like, let's say, astrology, like the intricacies, because otherwise, we're both just Scorpios born on this particular day and date, whatever, and there's so much more to it, and we couldn't be, further from the same human, like, kind of thing. Like, his expression and mine are completely different, and so that piece of simple, birth date and star sign or whatever else it might be, like, there's so much more to it, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, it
Yeah.
just gives, like, dimensions to who we are. Yeah,
Yeah.
because we're so much more than that. And, like, I always try and remind people, like, genetically, every human is 99.99% identical. And so what we see when we look at your body graph, which is the picture that we see, is your 0.1% differentiation point.
Wow.
That's all we see, but you are still 99.99% this other thing. So what I look at is a very, very, very minute snapshot of you as a person. And so I always say to people, like, yes, I'll get this beautiful information about you, but you are so much more than the 0.1% that I look at when I look at this graph. And so,
but how powerful that 1% is, how powerful just that 1% in its own right. Because if we're 99 point whatever, like percent, whatever, the same and made of star stuff and all the rest of it, it's kind of like that 1% is so powerful in our uniqueness and differences and, whatever, like expressions just in its own right anyway.
absolutely, absolutely. It's also like sometimes people do look at the 0.1% and they look at what's missing. And so that's why I think, because it's normal for us to want to, be smarter and, all the things. It's part of being human. So
Yeah.
I always just remind people that, yeah, we are such a complex thing in this world. So, and that's why I love that it is more than, like you said, you're a Scorpio.
Yeah.
It's like you're a
Yeah.
Scorpio, but you're also like, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, Yeah.
Yeah. So what would you suggest for people who are like, and I mean, great segue, please plug yourself for sure. Like
Yes.
for anybody who is like, I want to learn more about human
Yes.
design and I want to find out my gene keys and I want to, tap into this, additional expression to understand myself better so that, I often speak about hacking ourselves. It's like, how can I hack myself in my own life, like to make it whatever it is that we want, more surprise or more freedom or lifestyle or just be it for it to be easier, in whatever way that means and stuff like that. What would you suggest that people do?
Gorgeous being. It is truly my honor to have you here joining me on this co-created adventure through the strategy and energetics of seven-figure business. However it is that you landed here, whether we know each other personally or professionally, whether a friend shared this podcast with you as they thought you might get something out of it, or whether you stumbled across me by sheer accident or divine intervention, I want to thank you for being here and I want to ask you a little favor. It is my joy to do what it is that I do every single day. And so if you have received anything here, a piece of magic, a strategy, a mindset shift, something that has transformed you in some way, I ask that you share this podcast with others so that together we can transform the world for the better. One business, one human, one frequency, and one podcast at a time. Cosmic Money, the podcast. The strategy and energetics of seven-figure business.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely if we can avoid pain. Yeah, like if you can avoid pain and suffering, like why would you not? Obviously, like ain't nobody want to do that. So I think for Gene Keys, I always say to people, like if you go on the Gene Keys website, you can download a free profile and start your own sort of little process. If you are more technically interested, if you want to look at a process of like, transmutation or transformation, that's what I do with my process. I just combine lots of different systems. So you can find me on, I am Jasmina Sehic, on Instagram. I obviously will be releasing my, new integration alchemy offers shortly. So that's something that we can certainly look at together because like for me, when I discovered my purpose, which was really to help people create synergy in their life, because that's what we want. Because when we don't have synergy between who we are and what we're doing in life, it's shit. It's like pushing shit uphill, and it's just not fun for anybody. And I want to, devote my knowledge and my wisdom and the things that I'm learning to help awaken people so that they too can have this beautiful experience that I've had and feel more empowered and in control of their life. And whether it's human design or Gene Keys or, whatever beautiful system is out there, as humans, we are all wanting to live a life of happiness. Like that's, at the end of it all, we want to be loved. we want to feel seen, and we just want to like live a good life, really. So I think this is why I love these processes so much, because of the beautiful healing power that they have in them. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the our core human needs of, am I safe? Am I loved? Am I worthy? Do I belong? And am I enough? And it speaks into like so many of those pieces and gives you that sounds like it gives you that power and that freedom and that greater understanding, but then also, like as you said, to be that part of a greater whole as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think there are those different processes of our healing journey. Like when we might be awake, but we might not necessarily know where the hell to start. And that's a lot of us start there. We're like, well, I definitely don't want to be here, but I have no idea where I want to go. And so that's why I love human design and things like gene keys. So you can get a bit of a reading to understand like, oh, cool, this is my scaffold. And then I can start working on that. And eventually we get to a process where we need to integrate what we've learnt, because that's the biggest point we get stuck on. We are very information hungry as humans, but we don't tend to actually commence that integration process for quite some time. So for me, that integration alchemy is about understanding that you have everything you need to know inside of you. Nothing I tell you is new. It's actually all in you. I'm just a process of more like unveiling or unlocking or putting a light on it. And the rest is all down to us as individuals to integrate that behind the scenes. And that is the biggest propulsion to, evolution and transcension, which is that integration process. And who the hell knows how to integrate if we've never learned? Like, so sometimes it helps to have that support and that hand through that really tricky trial and error process. Yeah.
So I always ask all of our guests this kind of one last question, which is if you could give one piece of advice, like in relation to the strategy, the energetics of business, life, money, whatever whatever direction you want to take it, what would that bit of advice be?
I would really recommend that for people to just meet themselves where they are. Like, we spend so much time thinking about what we are yet to get and what we are yet to achieve, that it actually then almost we lose the beauty of life and life passes us by. And, we're like, well, if I do this course and then I'll be able to learn this and then I can do this thing. And maybe if I lose weight, then I'll get the dress and then I'll get the man and then and then life is literally just happening behind us. And that was a really big lesson to me, because I've spent my entire life seeking. And so I think if we can really just try and sit with where we currently are and meet ourselves where we are, it's a really important piece that we skip over. So that's what I would recommend. Just sit with yourself, meet yourself where you are, like even the shitty parts, like it's all part of the magic that really is waiting to unfold.
I remember hearing this concept one day, that was basically this idea of what if we weren't creating our futures, we were creating our pasts, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, like mind blown, because we sit in these now moments, and what we're thinking on or remembering is this past. And are we happy with the versions of ourselves that we were showing up as in those now moments that actually end up creating that past? And so instead of thinking that we're creating a future, what we're actually doing is creating a past. And are you proud of the past that you're creating? And it's
Yes.
just like, oh my God.
I know. Words are so powerful. It's why I get obsessed with them, because like even what you shared earlier with me, Sky, it like nothing to me it like unlocks my mind when I read something. It's like a whole new dimension. And so I think words are so powerful. So yeah.
our listeners know, I have MS, and so it's fine. What I actually said was thank you for the diagnosis, but I do not accept the prognosis. And those words, which is what we were talking about, like how powerful they were within my own life as well, to be like, oh yeah, like, I don't have to be a victim of this diagnosis, or whatever. Like I actually still get to choose. And that freedom of choice again is like empowering within its own right.
100%. And I think, just that will stay with me through my journey. So thank you so much,
Of
because
course. Good job,
it
universe. Good
always, good
alignment.
job, universe. Yeah. That's what means when you're in flow, it
Yeah, that's
works.
good. Yeah, the right things land at the right time. Yeah, perfect.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for being here today. It's always interesting for me, like, humbling, when I feel like an idiot in people's presence, and I find it genuinely humbling when I'm like, I have no idea, like, about any of these things, and to tap into somebody else's expertise and to hear you speak so passionately and energetically and in such flow. You can tell that you love this, and you can tell that
Yes.
you're doing the thing you are meant to do, and it just, it comes out so easily and effortlessly. So thank you so much for sharing your
Cosmic Money, the
brilliance with us
podcast.
today.
The
Remind
strategy and
everybody where they
energetics
can
of
find you,
seven-figure
because I don't
business.
want that to get skipped over.
Yes, I am Jasmina Sehic, and I'm sure you'll drop, because my name is spelled a little bit uniquely. So yeah, just to reach out. I am obviously a new business venture, so I look at people like yourself, Sky, who would like any money, Jen. Honestly, I take my goddamn hat off to you. I'm always in such awe of what you guys achieve. And so yeah, I also feel like a bit of a plebeian when I'm in the spirit of successful business
Bless you.
people like yourself. So yeah, bear with me as I say fuck you to the corporate world and
yes.
trusted myself and reach out, and yeah, let's connect, and hopefully human design and gene keys can unlock this part of your world like it did for me. So yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.